a vaccine, an insulin shot, or other medical treatments. However, the healing properties that people associate with needles are not actually due to the needles themselves, but to the injections that the hypodermic needles contain. But what if needles themselves can be used as agents of healing? Acupuncture is a medical practice that does just that by utilizing needles that are 1/10 of the size of a hypodermic needle and that contain no injections. Many people in the West are skeptical of acupuncture, questioning the treatment's effectiveness, philosophy, and Taoist beginnings. However, these concerns stem from an incomplete knowledge of acupuncture, and upon examination, the benefits of the treatment become clear. Traditional Chinese acupuncture should be further implemented into Western modern medicine, because research demonstrates that the treatment works, and the Eastern medical philosophy that is present in acupuncture can help balance out certain mechanistic tendencies in Western modern medicine. Acupuncture is an ancient medical practice that originated in China. In acupuncture, small, sterile stainless steel needles are inserted into the skin at specific points. These needles are then manipulated by an acupuncturist in order to influence the balance of the body as a whole, the body's equilibrium. Acupuncture can be used to treat a wide variety of conditions, including dermatological, neurological, mental, emotional, and reproductive conditions. Acupuncture is a holistic medical treatment. Holistic medicine is when the person's whole body is taken into account during treatment. The person's whole person, including their body, mind, spirit, and emotions. In order to understand acupuncture, it is important to understand the philosophical concept of qi. The ancient Chinese defined qi as life force. Within Taoism, which formed acupuncture's beginnings, qi was defined, all of life was defined by qi. All physical and mental activities are manifestations of qi. Within Chinese medicine, a person is healthy if their qi is balanced and flowing correctly throughout their body. However, if their flow of qi within their body becomes imbalanced, that is when disease occurs. Acupuncture is a method to correct the imbalanced flow of qi, thus restoring health to the body. Acupuncture treatment is structured around acupuncture channels and acupuncture points. Acupuncture channels are a system of non-anatomical conduit vessels through which qi flows throughout the body. Acupuncture points are specific places on the skin where these acupuncture channels come closest to the surface of the skin. These acupuncture points provide a network of communication with which the acupuncturist can manipulate the inner flow of qi in a person's body. Acupuncture originated in China over 3,000 years ago. Over several centuries, Chinese doctors observed the body and developed a system based on these careful observations. However, and soon acupuncture became a standard therapy used in China. However, in the 19th century, European missionaries began to export Western medicine to China. And by the early 20th century, Western medical techniques were associated with progress in China. And traditional forms of treatment, including acupuncture, were shunned and even banned. However, in 1949, these treatments were reinstated. And it was at this point that the divergent strands of acupuncture theory and practice were brought together in a consensus known as traditional Chinese acupuncture. Acupuncture did not become widespread in America until the late 20th century. In the early 1970s, an American journalist named James Reston traveled to China, and while he was there, he fell ill of appendicitis. After emergency surgery, James Reston was treated with acupuncture for post-operative pain. When he returned to America, Reston wrote an article about his experience with acupuncture, and it was published in the New York Times. This article exposed millions of Americans to the treatment for the very first time, and ignited a widespread interest in acupuncture. In the 20 years following this event, there was a widespread cultural move in America towards holistic medicine. Many people began to perceive mainstream medicine as caring more about serving its own ambitions rather than caring for the legitimate health needs of the patients. As a result, patients for whom conventional medical treatments had failed turned to acupuncture and other holistic treatments. From this point on, acupuncture slowly gained acceptance in the West, and demand for research regarding the treatment rose. Traditional Chinese medicine and Western modern medicine approach healing from completely different vantage points, each making sense of the body according to a different set of beliefs. These differences are a good thing, because the Eastern medical philosophy present in acupuncture can help balance out certain negative tendencies in Western modern medicine. In the West, through the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment, a mechanistic view of the universe emerged. René Descartes helped usher in the scientific revolution by introducing his analytic and reductive style of reasoning, which then formed the basis for a new philosophy of medicine. Descartes conceived of the world and everything in it as a machine, even going so far as to say that he saw no difference between the machines that men made and living bodies. Those following Descartes soon latched on to these ideas, and soon medical professionals and scientists alike both accepted and built upon this mechanistic viewpoint. Within this philosophical framework, the body is conceived of as a machine, able to be dismantled and divided into parts, and governed by mechanical laws. The Western medicine then becomes the study of the human machine. Doctors must divide the body into structural parts in order to heal it, from organs to tissues, tissues to cells, and cells to molecules. Eastern medical philosophy is almost completely the opposite. In ancient China, it was utterly forbidden to dissect a dead body. As a result, the whole person could not be divided into structural parts. The Chinese doctors had no choice but to subdivide the body only on the basis of the living processes that they could observe. In ancient China, the body is seen as a microcosm of nature. For centuries, Chinese doctors observed cycles, processes, and relationships within nature, and then conceptualized of the body in terms of what they had observed. The body is discussed not in terms of structural parts, but rather in terms of the cycles and relationships that govern qi. In Chinese medicine, a person is considered healthy if all of these relationships are in balance with one another. Acupuncture is a method with which to restore balance if one of these relationships becomes out of balance. The doctor and the patient's goal is to maintain balance in the body between these relationships. Now let's examine how Eastern medical philosophy can help balance out negative tendencies in Western medical philosophy. In the West, the medical professions have gradually become fragmented into highly specialized fields. As a result, aside from the general practitioner, there is no longer one medical professional who deals with the patient as a whole person. In the West, Western medicine tends to focus on ways in which all people are alike and tends to overlook ways in which people are dissimilar and unique. For instance, a group of people who receive the same diagnosis will likely receive the exact same treatment, regardless of what other unique factors may be contributing to their specific condition. In ancient China, it is important to view the person as a whole person. Acupuncture's holistic nature leads the treatment's focus to be on the patient as a whole person. And within acupuncture, there are as many unique treatments as there are patients, because the Chinese doctors will formulate a treatment that is tailor-made to each patient's specific condition. Another issue that is caused by this highly specialized fields in the Western medical professions is that it communicates to patients that science knows more about them than they could ever know or understand about themselves. Patients then become passive in the healing process, giving away the responsibility to care for their own health and well-being. Eastern medicine focuses on, in ancient China, doctors found it important to educate patients on how to maintain their own health and well-being. They did this by educating their patients to use tools such as diet and herbal remedies in order to help them promote their own health by maintaining balance within their bodies. Western medicine could benefit from that focus. Western medicine is remarkable at healing disease by removing evil from the body, but there are not many mechanisms built into the system to promote the good. Therefore, Western medicine sometimes lacks the skill to promote the patient's health in such a way as to maintain their health, while the focus in Eastern medicine on that very thing could benefit Western medicine. Finally, Western medicine focuses on the physical aspects of the person, and has only recently begun to investigate other aspects of the patient, such as the mind-body connection and how the two affect each other's health. This focus on the physical may not initially seem problematic, because the goal of medicine is usually understood to be physical healing. However, a prominent Dutch theologian named Abraham Kuyper wrote, "The discipline of medicine yields profound danger if it proceeds in a direction that increasingly ignores the soul, the spiritual dimension of people, and views a person as nothing more than a body whose expressions of vitality come forth from matter." Though Abraham Kuyper wrote that over a century ago, this trend in Western medicine to turn a blind eye to the non-physical aspects of a person continues. In Eastern medicine, these other aspects of a person are all taken into account during treatment. For instance, in Eastern medicine, the health of the mind and the body has been seen as synonymous for centuries. In acupuncture treatment, an acupuncturist will treat mental and emotional issues in the same way that they'll treat physical ailments, thus acknowledging that all aspects of a person are bound up together and teaching their patients to understand that as well. The crucial question remains, does acupuncture work? To answer this question, let us examine acupuncture research. Acupuncture research can be divided into two broad categories: efficacy research and effectiveness research. Effectiveness studies test a treatment in real-world circumstances and compare the benefits of the treatment to the benefits for the usual care for a condition. Efficacy studies test a treatment in controlled clinical circumstances, and they test the treatment against a control group to test for the placebo effect. Up until about 20 years ago, acupuncture research has focused mainly on effectiveness research. In the first years when acupuncture became more widespread in the West, there was a widespread movement to understand if acupuncture could be accepted by Western medical organizations as a legitimate treatment. To do this, they looked at effectiveness studies, where acupuncture was tested in real-world conditions and compared to the usual care for a condition. The result of this was that many Western medical organizations that were very respected, such as the British Medical Association, the World Health Organization, and the National Institutes of Health, all released reports saying that yes, acupuncture is a beneficial treatment that proved effective when tested in real-world conditions. However, and since then, most researchers have in fact acknowledged that acupuncture is an effective medical treatment, one that shows beneficial results when compared to the usual care for a treatment. However, in the last 20 years, focus in acupuncture research has shifted from effectiveness research to efficacy research. The greatest claim against acupuncture is the claim that its benefits are merely a result of the placebo effect, which is a beneficial effect produced by a treatment that cannot be due to the treatment itself, and therefore must be due to the patient's belief in that treatment. When performing an efficacy study, there is always a control group. This control group is treated with a sham treatment, one that is biologically inert, which means that has no biological effect upon the body. The goal of this is that the doctors can then see that any beneficial effects that result in that study then can be compared to the other benefits, and that way it is understood how much of the effects are a result of placebo. For the most part, in medical research, it is simple to create a legitimately inert sham treatment. A sugar pill can be swallowed or a saline injection administered. However, in acupuncture research, it has proven increasingly difficult to create a treatment that is legitimately inert. The patient in the control group must feel that the acupuncture they are receiving is real, but simultaneously this treatment must have no biological effect on their bodies. Researchers have typically employed treatments such as not needling on the traditional acupuncture points or placing pressure on the acupuncture points without inserting a needle. However, an increasing number of acupuncture researchers have pointed out that these sham treatments are not biologically inert. Touch of almost any kind physiologically affects the body, and these ways that they are influencing the body are actually more potent because they are still influencing the body in the same way that acupuncture would, or in similar ways. Therefore, for over 20 years, acupuncture research has been employing sham treatments that are not biologically inert. Therefore, there has been an inherent research bias that has caused researchers to underestimate acupuncture's true efficacy. Despite this research bias, there is still overwhelming evidence for acupuncture's efficacy. For example, in 2017, 2 researchers evaluated the entirety of acupuncture efficacy research. They concluded that of 122 conditions that they reviewed, acupuncture showed a positive effect for 117 of them. Just last year, researchers evaluated medical recommendations from around the world, from medical organizations including government health institutions, national guidelines regarding medical practice, and medical experts. They found that over a 27-year period, there were 2,000 positive recommendations for acupuncture for over 200 health problems. In addition to medical experts affirming acupuncture's efficacy, patients themselves affirm that acupuncture works. In 2014 and 2015, researchers surveyed American acupuncture patients. Of 89,000 patients that were surveyed, 93% of them said that their acupuncturist was successful in treating their primary health concern. Acupuncture works. It has proven both effective when treated in real-world circumstances and, despite a research bias, has still shown efficacy when tested in controlled and clinical circumstances. One concern potential patients may have is a theological one. Acupuncture was founded within a context of Taoism. Should we as Christians then avoid acupuncture, despite the treatment's benefits, because of its non-Christian roots? The doctrine of common grace points to the conclusion that no, Christians need not avoid acupuncture because of its origins. Manton's dictionary defines the common grace as the grace which God bestows upon all people, including unbelievers. Common grace, God bestows common grace on all people to make possible a functioning society of people who are sinful. Within medicine, common grace is what has allowed people to reach true conclusions about God's creation, believers and unbelievers alike. It is common grace that has allowed science, separate from Christian circles, to flourish, providing us with genuine knowledge about the world. Acupuncture was founded within a context of Taoism, but the sinful nature of the ancient Chinese did not prevent them from accurately observing the body and creating a system that works based on these observations. Their sinful nature, the fact that they had not received special revelation, does not make their system invalid. Augustine writes, "Nay, but let every good and true Christian understand that wherever truth may be found, it belongs to its master." If the ancient Chinese were able to discover a true method to heal the body, then Christians should not reject that out of hand. If it is truth, then it is God's truth. It is not Taoism's truth. In the same way that Christians do not reject medical advances made by atheists in Western medicine, we need not reject acupuncture because of its ancient Eastern roots. Traditional Chinese acupuncture should be further implemented into Western modern medicine. The underpinnings of Eastern medical philosophy in acupuncture can help balance out certain negative tendencies in Western medicine. Acupuncture's holistic nature recognizes the uniqueness of the patients, equips them with the tools to maintain their own health, and recognizes all aspects of a person in the quest for health. In addition to the philosophical advantages, acupuncture works. Research consistently proves that acupuncture is a beneficial treatment. A system that was created over 3,000 years ago, based on careful observations of the human body, has persisted until today because it is a beneficial treatment, both medically and philosophically. Therefore, traditional Chinese acupuncture should be further implemented into Western modern medicine. Thank you.